AI that has every clinical study available to it that it reads through, and every piece of medical knowledge that reviews me, I would prefer to have that than someone who got their degree 14 years ago, plays a lot of golf, and doesn't keep up on a lot of things. Because some doctors are great. Lots of them practice medicine like they practice golf, right?
Yeah.
They do it. They're 9 to 5, and they're not that passionate. Maybe they are, right? They'll all tell you they are, but I would rather have the world's, largest knowledge source check my stuff. Hey, what's up, buddy?
How are you? It's been a while.
I know. I've got no background on.
That's perfect. You've got a really cool background of, you actually working. Things are happening in your background.
Yeah, I started learning the piano, I don't know, a few days ago. Now I can play Happy Birthday and a couple of things. So
My kids are finally found a good piano teachers. They've been learning a lot. Personally, like, how to play instruments, you need to do something with one hand in different pace with the other hand. I can't do that. Drives me nuts. I'm like it physically feels painful to do two different things, like at the same time, but differently. Somehow kids don't have that problem. But like if you try to have me like tap this one rhythm and then play something different here, my hands just get like weird.
So you're describing how I feel.
Okay.
Yeah. I am familiar with your affliction. I am not neurotypical, so like I have a lot of challenging sort of things like that, and that's one of the reasons why I said I'm just going to do this, because I'm playing one-handed basically, right? And just going through it, and I'm making incremental progress. So I said I'm going to do it 15 minutes a day until I'm moderately okay, right? So, but I do these things. I go on these benders of different technologies and different things, and I say I'm just going to do it. To that point, everyone can be a Renaissance man today.
What does that mean? What do people mean when they say that? I'm going to be silly and ask that
So a Renaissance man, in my view, I think we could probably ask ChatGPT to give us a good definition. In my view, a Renaissance man is someone of multiple skills or talents that are diverse or disparate enough from each other where they are unlikely to align.
Gotcha.
So you think of like a Michelangelo, right? He made helicopter designs and was a sculptor and was a painter and lots of things he did. One person had no business doing two things, 3 of them, 4 of them, 5 of them, right?
I see.
So
basically, traditionally, you just don't think that somebody should be capable of doing this diverse range of skills, because it used to be you just have one skill you're really good at, and now everyone can actually acquire whatever skill they desire because AI can teach you. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lower, and you could always learn things, right? But it's a lower barrier now because the certain eclectic knowledge things that you would need to get are easier to acquire. Like I've got a MIDI controller behind me. I had no idea how any of this stuff worked from a technology perspective. I saw there were keyboards to buy. There were these MIDI controllers. I'm like, I don't know what to get. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, I'm trying to understand the difference between these technologies. And it gave me like a really good summary. It's like, hey, if you want a MIDI controller, you drive it with software on your computer. Apple has some stuff. A lot of musicians like Apple because it's built into the machine. And like, okay. So I bought one of those, and then I bought another piano for downstairs for the kids. That's a non-MIDI. It's a Yamaha thing with an internal driver. But I didn't understand any of it. And now I feel like I can be moderately effective in anything.
So when you say MIDI controller, you mean the sound is produced by your computer as opposed to coming out straight out of the piano?
Yeah, the piano's a dumb device. These MIDI, this is an R2 Essentials. They're relatively inexpensive, like a couple $100. And the actual device is almost like an ESP32 or something. And it may even have that on the inside. It's basically translating keystrokes, and it's multiplexing it across some sort of MIDI signal. It might even be a serial signal. I don't know what the bus protocol is. It's old because MIDI is like 80.
Right, like Daft Punk, that kind of old, yeah.
Yeah. So a MIDI controller is really good for learning the piano because all these teaching softwares, they can read which key you pressed, right, as part of you doing it. Whereas some of them, like on the piano downstairs, I've got this app with an iPad that listens to your notes, and it's pretty good. But man, there's nothing better than a hard key press to register, right? So it'll pause the music on screen and be like, all right, you missed the note. And it's very gamified.
Right.
And it won't proceed unless you hit the right one. So all of a sudden, if you do that 10 times, right, and you're not any good, all of a sudden you start getting better. It's like doing the first level in Mario, right?
Have you found any software that can teach you how to play piano without actually reading notes, that does straight like sound to key press?
Yes, actually, I was looking with Grok, and
Okay.
it gave me one. I can pull it back up. I can't remember. There's an AI one. Hold on. This software I minimized you when I open this thing. So there was. I'll re-ask Grok right now. There's two suites. So I started with Flow Key, which is like it shows music on the screen. It'll also take the MIDI controller, or it'll listen to the audio on like your iPad, and it has videos and lessons. So
Hmm.
I started with that because I wanted to get basic music reading. Now, there was another AI piano tool. It's relatively new. It's been around 6 months, that creates customized lessons for you based upon your ability, and then identifies stuff that you're weak at and teaches you to play more by ear than by sheet.
And you know, it's even funny to be asking you this now because, well, we have AI. I could just ask Grok to code it up for me and right, I should do that. But I already have like a list of 25 things that, before that I need to finish.
Yeah, so I've been really dialed in with coding lately.
Hmm.
Since I started at Vast Data October last year, I've become a field CTO there for AI about, I think, April 1st. So I've been officially doing that for a month. And I made a bunch of stuff. I made this video demo for the NHL, which is like video search using Nvidia NIMS. And I'm not speaking on behalf of the company anyway. I'm just telling you what's going on, right? Officially. So, I don't represent Vast. But I put this together, and it's blown up as a very successful sort of AI application. And I've been making, and why I'm saying that, I've been making a bunch of demo type applications to show off the power of AI.
Hmm.
And in the last month, things have really changed. Creation wise, Grok's available on Cursor. I don't know, are you using Grok on Cursor at all?
Not on Cursor. I usually, actually, when I use Cursor, I have either Sonnet 3.7 Thinking, sometimes Gemini. So I have that in Cursor full time. And then I use Grok on a side to actually bounce ideas off Grok so that it doesn't interfere with the cursor flow. Essentially, it doesn't actually get into the cursor memory until I have a good solution from Grok. And then I go and tell Cursor, I'm like, hey, this is a really good idea. Do you think we should do this? And then Cursor's like, totally. It sounds awesome. Yeah. Because I figure like if I put way too much into Cursor, then Cursor starts getting confused or like really ambitious. It just runs off into its own, like, makes me like 10 files for where 3 lines of code would be sufficient.
So that's Sonnet. That's not Cursor, that's Sonnet.
Okay, maybe, yes.
Yeah. So something I have found, the music software earlier was Museflow. That's the one I'm going to try next.
Okay,
But
Museflow. Yeah.
Museflow, yeah. But so I'm just basically generating code almost all the time now. I'm either doing customer calls about cybersecurity because of my CISO experience, because people have new laws they're trying to meet. So I put on my CISO hat and help work through problems and come up with recommendations. Or I'm working on demos for Vast to show off the power of the platform and do that, right? So I am generating, just as 2 days ago, I did basically a 10-hour stint. I stayed up to like 2 in the morning, and or actually it was 3:19 when I went to bed. I generated a test suite for doing AI benchmarking on repetitive data sets. And I wrote this using Go and just JavaScript and HTML with some Bulma CSS stuff. It's 9,000 lines, and it generates a SQLite database, and it writes an entire test suite that can load prompts and allow you to explore OpenAI endpoints or Olama endpoints, and then run a series of tests against them. So you can get real time to first token, total transaction time, tokens per second. Because at Vast, I'm working on another project, which is this KV cache. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
So there's a technology where it's a key value cache for AI. TLDR, it has to do with AI caching of responses. And you think of AI as non-deterministic, so it's not very good at caching. You would be right. But
Its own responses, or what
yes,
is
its
caching?
own responses.
Okay.
So when you make a bigger prompt, it takes longer for the AI to respond, right? You familiar with this?
Well, it also depends on how you prompt it, right? How it's logic, and it also depends on the model to an extent. So like all this others, yeah.
Time to first token, like that's going to be pretty much the same no matter what you write. But the time to first token is directly tied to the prompt size. So a cursor runs out of context window and it slows down as you get going. It's like, it seems like it's going slower, and then it's just like, what is going on? That's because the AI is being loaded with all your previous chats, and that's in the context, and it has to recompute the entire context every time you interact. So that adds overhead of seconds, right? If you cache the overhead, you don't have to recompute it.
So this way you monitor like what's the breaking point for your use case, and can say that this is the point where you want to start caching, or like flash all the previous knowledge and start over because the response is too slow.
So that's one. That's to do with customer experience. But think of, you're the provider, and you have a rack of hundreds.
It's a good problem to have.
Sure. And you've got, or you're buying H200s, whatever, renting. Okay. So say you're doing this.
Yes.
And your average transaction time, say someone like you, Carol, or myself, right? Our average time to first token is 5 seconds, because we typically use a context window of some size, because it works better than going with an empty context every time, right? You try to use the context window till it explodes. So, that every time you hit enter, it's resubmitting all of those things that go beyond, and it's taking 5 seconds, and your actual output may take 2 seconds. So you're paying a 200 or 300% overhead for every person to recalculate previous context. If you stored that context in a cache, right, it'd have 0. So basically, it goes to 0.4 seconds using vast KV cache, and there's also other KV caches too, right? Not just, but like the idea here is that you could read from flash instead of having to spend the 600 or 200, 600% compute cycles recomputing the same thing.
But you're assuming that the previous context is not necessary for the new response.
No, it is necessary. It's always necessary.
But it doesn't get added to the model's new computation.
Yes, it does.
So how is it different from adding the cached response versus the response itself?
So when you load in the cached response, it's basically pre-thought, and it's pre-tokenized, and it's already filled in to the AI's mind, right? So
I see. So it's basically like, it's just like compiled version of that goes in, as opposed to
right.
Gotcha.
So you don't have to go through the overhead. It's actually a pretty cool idea. And when you think of it at scale, like you think of like a Chat GPT, you think of these large scales, think of Grok, all this type of stuff. They're all using some KV cache thing, probably through VLLM or some technology like this, but it's only in RAM or VRAM, and there's limited context for that. So there's a big play to load that on the flash storage so that you can have way more caching and be 0.6 seconds or 0.1 seconds loading the cache in versus 7 seconds of recomputation. So VLLM is a software wrapper that you can run, specifically focused on CUDA type stuff, right? It supports RockM, but you need to compile it yourself. And you run it on a machine, you say, run this model from Hugging Face, and it downloads it and runs it and puts a V1 interface on it. And it's a wrapper. So it also has a caching engine in it, which will use your VRAM that's available to help cache the responses till it runs out of VRAM to accelerate the response. And it uses a percentage of VRAM by default on startup. I'm sure there's a VLLM developer who would correct me and tell me it's calculated this way or this, whatever. TLDR that uses something,
it works.
It makes it faster, right? But it doesn't work with some things. So if you can take VLLM and you can cache it to, say, like the company I'm at, Vast Storage, where you've got this like multi-exabyte flash array, you could write. So I'm really excited from a medical research perspective or patient care, because you could write all of these, like, say all your medical records, Carol, right? Like you could take all of your test results and everything, and you could pre-process them in AI. So when the doctor walks in the room, it can have all these questions answered about you and pre-calculated in the current context. 200,000 people a year, I think, if you Google this, die from medical malpractice. I saw this on a post the other day, so I'm not sure the exact number. It's really high.
Yeah, that sounds high.
It's not malpractice. It's they use a different word for it. Medical errors or mistakes or things. And there's a lot of them. A lot of people die that way. And having AI as a second life-saving, an airbag in the room is a smart thing to do, I think. I am infinitely more confident in someone with knowledge on the subject than someone without for most things, right? So I'm not biased against doctors. I'm just biased against people with less knowledge. So if I could take a AI that has every clinical study available to it that it reads through and every piece of medical knowledge that reviews me, I would prefer to have that than someone who got their degree 14 years ago, plays a lot of golf, and doesn't keep up on a lot of things. Because some doctors are great. Lots of them practice medicine like they practice golf, right?
Yeah.
They do it. They're 9 to 5, and they're not that passionate. Maybe they are, right? They'll all tell you they are, but I would rather have the world's largest knowledge source check my stuff. Actually, we did this with my wife recently.
What'd you get?
So she had a diagnosis of potentially breast cancer, and we went through a whole scare. She's fine, right? We took her mammogram, and I went to ChatGPT with it, and I asked it for a second opinion and said, "Look, you're a doctor's assistant, and this is a MRI or not an MRI, whatever the mammogram thing. I don't even know what the
CT
technology.
scan, I think.
Yeah, the mammogram technology. And I said, look, I need you to analyze this particular marker here and what this means. And it spun for a second. It said, it looks like a calcified milk duct. And I'm like, hey, it doesn't appear to be cancerous. And she went through a whole biopsy thing. We went through a whole process. And the outcome was it was a calcified milk duct and it wasn't cancerous.
That's
So,
awesome.
like, yeah, the AI had predicted that. And it makes me wonder, on a lot of this stuff, if we had a little more double checking like that.
Well, you and I had this discussion when I tore my ACL too, right? And I went to doctors,
right.
and both surgeons were like, "Oh, no problem. We'll cut you up." One is like, "We'll do this." The other one was like, "We'll do that." You'll go through rehab, and like 9 to 18 months later, you'll be good to go. And I'm just like, okay, but what if I just don't want to be cut? And so I did the research with all the AIs, and it seems like in my particular case, there's a very high chance that I can avoid surgery, be just fine. But like you can instruct AI to say, look, I don't want surgery. Give me all the answers and give me all the research, right? And the doctors are like, well, I'm just really good at surgery. Why don't we just do surgery?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to make 60 grand off of it, right?
Yeah.
And I cannot fault the doctor for caring about their self-interest, right? At the end of it, you're a surgeon. Okay. You get paid for surgeries, just like a car salesman. You come in, your car's making a bunch of noise, and you go to the sales, people. You're going to say, hey, this has got some problems. They're like, yeah, you should get a new car, right? And
Yep.
you go to the surgeon, he's like, yeah, you should get some surgery because you know what? This office doesn't pay for itself. And, I mentioned that Regenex stuff to you as part of that because I had that done on my back. There's a lot. So medical is a crazy space right now because there's a lot of treatments that aren't covered by anything, right? That aren't expensive, that, demonstrate a lot of success in testing, right? So like I had the Regenex stuff on my back. I was a broken man for 10 years. I had a discectomy because I was partially paralyzed and I got it so I could walk, but I was in pain every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And like I couldn't move my right leg in the morning. I had to stretch. I had all kinds of problems. It was great to be alive and it was great to be able to walk around, but I couldn't do things like pick up a 5-gallon pail. Like stuff like that would destroy me. I'd have to lay down for 3 days. And I got this Regenex stuff, and all of a sudden, I have zero problems. Every now and again, if I overdo it, my back will get achy. But like, I don't have any problems, and it's experimental, right? You're not supposed to recommend any of that stuff, but there's all kinds of treatments out, especially for cancer too. There's specialized treatments for certain types of lung cancers and things where they make medicine that's specific for you. And I think that the AI piece of that, like front loading that data in and coming up with treatment plans is going to be a real thing here. And can you just imagine for every little child, every grown up who's going through some sort of cancer scare, if you could just go to ChatGPT, take a picture of something and then get your customized pill in the mail that'll cure you up in a week or something, right? Like that's, to me, that is not impossible. It's not. I don't think it's impossible at all. You know what? I do not believe that this is an impossible statement. I believe that everyone could have customized medical care at scale. If I can get custom eyeglasses in a week for $2, you ought to be able to get.
Somebody had this epic tweet the other day. They said, you can't tell me that we can resurrect mammoth from Ice Age, and yet we can't cure cancer, right? Because there's a VC-funded company literally trying to like regrow mammoth for whatever reason. They're doing for like tax savings purposes, but for whatever the reason is like, yeah. And that's a beautiful thing about, I think, tech people versus everybody else. Tech people kind of look at a problem and be like, I think we have technology. Like, sure, we can do this, right? Everybody else is like, well, it's like decades, if not like more away. And you're like, no, like cars drive themselves. I'm pretty sure we can. Like
it's just another component, right?
Yeah.
And 2 years ago there was a case where a doctor caught cancer from a patient, right? Because he cut his arm. This was something that's really interesting. So, cancer is a defective growth, right? It's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be treated, and there's ties to some hereditary thing. There's ties to environment. It's a malfunction, right? And all malfunctions can be repaired for the most part, right? So like I fundamentally believe treating cancer from a scientific perspective is completely doable, and it's being done at scale. There's been these viruses that have been customized to kill certain types of cancers. Like, we're so close to this, Carol. I pray for our children and our future that it happens sooner.
And if you look at sci-fi books, right, like sci-fi authors wrote about this 40, 50 years ago. Like I'm looking forward to the future. It's kind of weird, but like imagine you can inject nanobots in your bloodstream and then they run around and collect data and then, you know, produce things they need and then they just cure that particular thing. I mean, again, selfishly thinking about my ACL, right? Like they would say, well, ACL has really hard time healing because there's no good blood supply there.
No
It's
blood,
like,
right?
Well, why don't we just inject the nanobots that bring the blood over and then bring all the other, you know, nutrients, minerals, whatever the ACL needs, and maybe even like tiny nanobot surgeons, they go,
yeah. They grab hands and pull it together and weave it together like a spider inside you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like
exactly. And we're so close. Like we should have this already.
7 of 9, man. Remember in the what is it? Star Trek Voyager, they use nanobots for everything.
Do they?
Oh yeah. There's a whole like arc with her as a character, Jerry Ryan.
I see.
The nanobots the Borg use do all kinds of cool stuff.
So like, yeah, we've already predicted it. We might as well have it. And actually, I'm pretty sure that's what, you know, the visionary founders do. They like read a really cool sci-fi book and go, we should totally do this. And then they go and start a company and just tell everybody how great their idea was, but it was written about 50 years ago. Yeah, but whatever, you know, whatever gets us there, that's fine. If somebody wants to just work in it, go for it. But I was also curious to do this chat because I've been watching you do all this cool stuff with AI. And now I didn't realize you were like the AI CTO for this company now, right? Because I'm like, where does Matt get all this time to just constantly run all kinds of cool AI video stuff? And it turns out you have an access to H12, you know, the hardware rack. So that helps.
So I do have to say the projects and stuff I'm posting on X, I'm doing after hours, after work stuff for the most part.
So the cool work stuff you're not even showing us?
No. So I mean, the NHL demo, because that's released and it's public, is the easiest thing to say, which is basically a video search for all the archive footage. And I built that reference case. I actually have a patent for it too, for the way we're doing agent-based video stuff. That patent was filed about a month and a half ago, I think. It's my first patent, which is cool. So it's an AI patent. Who's got AI patents, right? I got an AI patent, right? Anyway, yeah. So I do a lot of this stuff on my home lab, like cyber image and this type of stuff. That I made that for my kids, my little girls. They love to generate these little anime girls and all this type of stuff. So I wrote an interface for them to do it, right?
Quick, can you screen share and show us the cyber image?
Yeah, sure. Get rid of the bookmarks bar so it's not so
no seriously, how many dads out there are generating their own software so their kids can play around with stuff in AI, right? Like some people probably subscribe them to ChatGPT, Grok, but other than that, like that's so cool that you just do it over the weekend. And at some point I tried to run it and I run into a bunch of issues and then it's like, all right, I gotta do other stuff. So I have to come back to your
let's see.
Cyber image.
Does it share? Oh, it's shared. Cool.
Yep.
All right. So this is cyber image, and this is a basically it's a Go front end, and it uses just regular HTML, CSS on the back end, and it's my little girls generating stuff with Santa Sprint. So basically, what happens is you pick a model. Say, let's do Santa Sprint because it's fast, right? And let's do, I don't know, a cybernetic dog with green glowing eyes running down the highway with cars. Okay. And I created this enrich button. You see this enrich button? This button's a banger. I add this to like all the things I do at work too. I add an enhance button. So you click enrich. What it's actually doing, it's an LLM call. I think it's to Cerebras, and it's basically giving it a bunch of context how to enrich a prompt for a video. So look, it adds neon drenched night, sprint down rain, all these cool things. And then we could say, all right, let's do 4 of these. And
is it doing this specific against this currently selected model, or is it more generic right now?
No. So it's doing it. So no. Oh, the enrichment's just generic. So I wrote one good enrichment prompt, and then I went to Cursor and I said, give me different themes for this. And it's literally the first generation. I haven't adjusted it at all. See, look at that. Look how cool that is. You see how fast that was?
No, that was nearly instant.
Yeah, this is Santa Sprint. Santa Sprint's so strong.
And so this is all running locally on your machine.
Yeah, this is running on an RTX 3090. A dog with red eyes, burning with fire. Here, we'll do another one. Because now the model's loaded, it'll go even quicker. Burning with fire from his eyes and feet. Let's say running down the, I don't know. What's another word? Highway, track. Let's do
Down New York Street, Fifth Avenue. I mean, New York City.
Street. Down a New York Street. We'll say a New York Street. So Santa Sprint is pretty mediocre image gen. It's just fast. All right, let's do anime. Enrich. Okay, let's do 4. We're on Santa Sprint. Generate. Boom, it goes to the queue. Look at the number. Look at the number. Boom, 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 boom. Generation complete. That one's cool.
No, go back. I like how like one of them, like the one on the left is kind of a puppy, the one on the right is a puppy, and the ones in the middle are just like here to eat your head off.
Yeah, this thing looks insane. And this is an anime style or whatever, right? But what's nice on this too is it creates a SQLite database on the back end and it ties it with all the images. So you can copy the prompt, you can download it, you can dynamically delete them. It's got an infinite scroll gallery too, which I created for my little
And this
girls.
is this shared on your local network so your kids have access to this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you can't see the IP the way I'm sharing it, can you? Yeah, so it's a
No, but it's fine,
192.168 address, and it's
Okay.
so this is actually running in a Docker container too. This is a single Docker container. The repo's out there if anyone wants to run it. You can run it one line.
Yeah, I'll link to it.
Yeah, so from a me perspective too, part of my design philosophy for anything I make like this, it has to stand on its own. It can't be complicated, okay? And it has to write to a database. Everything I do has to write to a database. I don't like the flat files. I've really settled in on SQLite because it's simple. I can scale to gigabytes in it, good enough. And for an app like this, it's just storing metadata. It'll never run out, right? So there's video in here too. Look, check this out. I just added this in.
So does this cyber image do video now? You can animate it?
Yeah. So up above on the generate, so I'm just showing images now. There's a WAN to TV model, which is this new WAN Alibaba model. I spent like 2 nights in a row really late getting this working. So this will generate videos. I could show some of the videos too. I made a video on X on it, but there's also, check this out.
Yeah, you can just say video and it will turn that into.
So we can use LTX video and we can generate a video off this image. Now, these aren't that great. I'm using a GGUF LTX video model, which I think is not good. I've got to change it to another one. This is the reference one that's used in the diffuser's help guide.
Okay.
It's only like 6 gigs. I've got 24 gigs of VRAM, so I think I'm really shortchanging myself. So some of the videos I generate are terrible. Let's dig down here. There's that anime girl. Okay, so here's a dragon. This is an LTX one. It looks like terrible. This is a WAN one, which looks pretty good. This one's that's an LTX one. This is a WAN one. The cigar smoke is really good. This is a WAN one too. The cat looks really good.
Wow, it looks so real.
That's the first one I generated once I got the outputs of the model to work right. It was actually pretty. These are Santa Sprint. Oh, this is a WAN one too. This fat guy dancing in the street. That was the first one I got to work, that one.
But tell me, it's only 1 second long. Is that because the model, or you just wanted to check it out? Like, can you extend this video to 30 seconds and it would still look good?
So this one's 10 seconds. So you're limited to a number of frames. Okay. So the frames you can set the frame rate of the video and it'll decrease the length and time of it. Now it's all tied to the video model, right? Like I didn't write any of that. So if we go and we pick the WAN model, I can pick the steps, which ties to the number of frames. So I can generate 60 frames and that will be 2 seconds, right? At 30 frames a second. But I think it defaults it to 12. So you could end up with that like 10 seconds or whatever.
But you could grab the last frame of your video and just continue generating.
Yes. Yeah, you totally could. You could do a generation off of that. The problem is on the 3090 Ti that I have, the good WAN videos take over 10 minutes to generate. So that's like a big commit. So if I click generate on this bad boy, it's going to work, but it's going to tie it up for 10 minutes. These take 1 second. So like my little girl's generating stuff on here. I encourage them to use Santa Sprint and I use this too. Like you notice I reply on X with lots of photos.
Yeah.
So I just go into Santa Sprint on this thing. I type in something. And then if, it strikes me as the mood and I append it on the reply because I think it's cool.
But right now you have the certain style. Is it baked in, or is it generating, like, can it generate a happy filled with flowers
Sure,
zombie
let's
dog?
do it.
Because I've
Let's
seen
do
a lot of your images and they're often in very similar styles.
So I typically use the cyberpunk button, which adds it into a cityscape with a bunch of things. So that is why a zombie dog with rotting flesh. I guess it's rotting flesh.
Running through a
In
field of magical flowers
yeah, running through a field of magical flowers
on a happy sunny day.
on a happy sunny day. All right, so we won't even enrich it. We'll just go like this and
Huh?
see what it does. Okay, keep the prompt because we'll run it again. That keep prompt button, I added that one day. I was very excited with that button. I got to say, did I click it? What did I do?
You enriched it anyway, but let's do it.
I enriched it?
Yes, you're so used to clicking enrich that
I didn't click the generate. Oh my God. All right.
you didn't even notice. You said we're not going to enrich this one, and you clicked it right off.
I was confused. I thought I clicked generate. I was spacing it. All right, well, let's see what we got. Oh no, I made it cyberpunk. Oh my God, that is disgustingly awesome. Look at that thing.
Yes, disgustingly awesome is a good way to put it. You're like, I would like to unsee this, but it's kind of cool.
Oh, I like the sunset there. That is, you can reply to that, right? Oh, you know what?
It's like,
he
what's
needs
the
a top
computer
hat
game? Fallout. This
needs a
seems like
top
something
hat.
you'll see in Fallout, where
With rotting
you
flesh.
have that happy music.
Wearing a top hat. All right, sorry, I got to do this.
Okay.
He's good. He's gonna have a top hat. Let's go.
Your kids are gonna log in and be like, Dad, what were you up to?
Yes. The top hat makes it. All right.
Hold on, open it up again for a second. That one. I'm gonna place a bookmark here so I can, make this the cover.
So it's actually really fun. So I've done screen sharing sessions with friends generating images before previously, not on this particular tool, but on other ones. And you have really inventive ideas. And so we were using Flux before the last time I did this. It takes a long time, right? 30, 40 seconds. So, this Santa Sprint's such a cool model.
But the only thing is, you basically have to have a PC with an Nvidia graphics card in it to do this, because right now everything is running locally for you. Can you take that graphics card and literally plug it into your Mac, somehow bootstrap it to just run on the side?
So all of these models will run on a Mac because they're PyTorch, PyTorch models running through diffusers. So I think every one of them, Flux and all these, will run on a Mac. So if you copied this, so specifically if you go to the Cyber Image repo, there are build instructions in it that specify running it locally using the Go runner. I think this is Go. No, this is Python. I'm sorry, this is Python. This is Python.
This was Python. So last time I tried it, and I'm on a Mac, I don't have a graphics card dedicated to this. So I tried it, and I had to solve a lot of, connection problems. And so at some point, I'm like, this is cool, but I have to do all this stuff. That's why I was asking, right, how easy it is to actually make it work, because you don't have to. You already have the graphics card. My other thought was, well, can I rent the graphics card somewhere in the cloud and then connect CyberImage to it? I don't necessarily mind paying for a cloud service. Is just the least setup possible.
So the Cyber Image, so part of the secret of Cyber Image, right, is it downloads all the models and manages all the hard stuff. I wrote that as part of the loader on the back end. So the models folder for this, I believe it's 290 gigs. So it is not insignificant for what it downloads for models. So it downloads if you look at each one of these models, the Flux one's 20, 30 gigs, plus it downloads a couple different versions of it. Schnell's 20, 30 gigs, Santa Sprint's 26 gigs, C5's 20.
How many models are you playing with at the same time? Like if you click on the model loader.
4, 5. Oh, you can't see it when I click it on screen. I'm clicking it and you can't see the drop down. Yeah.
No,
okay.
I don't. How? Is that just the type of sharing you selected? Is that what it is?
I guess.
Huh.
So there's Anna Image, Flux 1, Flux Schnell, Santa Sprint, SD 3.5. You know what? I can just go like this. So this is an anime generating one. This is your standard Flux. This is Flux Schnell, which is the free one. Santa Sprint, Stable Diffusion 3.5. Stable Diffusion 3.5 has its own sort of really cool style too. And then I've got this video generation, this WAN text to video. This WAN one's really good. This came out like a few weeks ago. It's pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 1B model, which it seems to use like 9 gigs of VRAM. You could probably run it on a lot of stuff. Just takes a long time to generate. When I say long time, 10 minutes to generate a video. And maybe I'm doing something wrong too. On all of this, I'm not a real AI expert. Let me just say, I'm an AI expert user, maybe, right? Like I'm really good at putting stuff together and making functional business cases and throwing things together. I can't explain to you how the tensors are different between LTX video and WAN T2V. And I don't necessarily know the imaging formatting rules inside the model. And I don't care, right? I'm just trying to put stuff together and have it make it work and have it be fun. So I'm a different type of user, right? I'm like, all right.
It's great because I can relate to you the most, right? Because that's what I love doing as well. Like, how do you take this technology and make something that we can actually use? But let somebody else figure out all the hard stuff, sort of like the engine, right? But let's just drive the car. And that's what you're doing. But I can see you just meditatively type these prompts, like, oh, what do I want to see? But that's what I want. That's why I wanted to try the cyber image too, because I want my kids to be able to just like envision stuff. Because I saw your kids doing that, right? Every time they want to like visualize an anime. By the way, I'm kind of curious. We haven't met her online yet. Is that an actual picture of your wife on her X profile, or is it a generated picture?
Listen, it's her. We just took it and we massaged it a little bit, and
because I was like, because I told my wife, I'm like, hey, hon, I need you to meet somebody. It's Matt's wife, and his kids are doing this cool stuff with AI. So like, I think we should hang out. And she looks at X. She's like, well, is she like a real person? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like it's like, but yeah, because the picture looks so good. We're like, you don't even know anymore, right? Like,
yeah, she's definitely a real person. Let's call the picture optimistic, right? Like it definitely looks like her when she was a little bit younger. We've all aged, and the great thing about AI portraits is that they can show a version of you that existed or could exist. Optimistic's the right
this is
word.
great. Let's see. Oh wow, that's what is it? A little
Stable
mouse.
Diffusion 3.5. Yeah. So I just made him on a field. I don't know. It's got like some sort of evil storm going on. Kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Stable 3.5 takes longer. That took X minutes. There's an admin panel too, where if something gets stuck, you can restart it and clear it. It's got, I think the generator, this tab doesn't work quite right. There's a couple of defects in it, but like overall it works pretty well.
Okay, so like if I wanted to use this today without fiddling with connecting it to my Mac, what do I go and buy that I can just plunk on my desk and hook it to?
So all of these models pretty much need, I'm looking at the list. So the WAN one, I think you could get away with probably 12, 16 gigs of VRAM. The rest of them, Flux now, you could probably get away with a 3070 or something. The rest of them are going to be, you need a 24 gig card, right? You do. But if you go to the env file that's in the repo, it reads from this env file and loads these things. You put in a quantized version that's even smaller, probably, and it'll probably work. I mean, it would work. It's just going to use the diffusers pipe. Excuse me. It uses the diffusers pipeline and pulls it from Hugging Face. So those should all work. And if someone opened up an issue on the GitHub, I would help them solve it. They should work on the Mac too, if you have enough. So the problem is too, you need enough VRAM on the Mac, right? So like,
I think I have enough VRAM. Is just again, but I only tried it a few months ago. Like the first time you told me about it, right? So I should probably download it again and try it again. You've probably improved stuff.
I've pushed hundreds of major rewrites on the model management. I'm not running it on any Macs. So this is the other thing too. Like Flux here will run an image in 30 seconds when the model's loaded. On the Mac, it's like a 4-minute commit. So it's just not as good. So it depends on the Mac. So if you have a M3 Ultra, I think it'll generate it less than a minute, right? So if you're going to use a Mac Mini or an M4 Pro or an M4 regular CPU, you'll probably be sad, right?
Well, 4 minutes is still better than none. So from that perspective,
yeah. And Santa Sprint will generate you an image on your Mac. So I have another repo. So if you just want to do Santa Sprint, okay, I actually have a repo on GitHub, Rogers/Santa-Sprint.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I just changed.
That's cool.
Yeah, so this repo here, if you git clone it and run it, this will run on a Mac. The Mac will only run the 0.6b model, which is pretty good. It's about the same. The 1.6, I mean, there's very little difference. But you can generate an image on your Mac in like 10 seconds. It's not 1 second, but like
good enough.
Yeah, for the kids, it's really good. And this has a GUI on it. You can just type it, hit run. And the overhead to set this up is like 3 minutes. So like, if you want to just try that works on the Mac. So I use this on my work Mac to generate response images. And look, it's got 4 stars. It's really doing well.
Well, maybe it's because like Mac users might not be as tinkery with this stuff. Your other repo has way more stars, right? Because what is it, like 1,600 stars?
Oh, yeah. So I've got some big repos. CyberImage is pretty small though. This one's I've posted on X a couple times. This repo. So when you set up the images on here, there's some instruction. Yes, when you define the models, you can literally just put any of the model types in here, and it will download them and try to run it. See, and I've got the LTX video in there, and the other ones, and it'll download them, run them. See, this is the WAN models, so they've been added in. But yeah, I have here. I'll pull up my main profile because it's
you were bragging the other day about how many stars you've got.
Yeah, I got 73 followers, and someone was making a joke on X about if you've got 20 followers on GitHub, you've made it. Like my X followers, I'm not 1,000. I think I'm like 600 or something. So like I have not made it on X, but boy, I've made it on GitHub then.
Yeah.
The original RF Hunter's got 1,200. Netventory got 158. So Netventory's been pretty big too. It's got over 20,000 hits on it.
Because that's the cybersecurity suite you built, right? Is that
so it's just a network scanner. And I actually wrote a Swift version, which I've uploaded. So this is how it looks on the Mac. It's got its own Mac app. And you can install it and it'll scan your network and it does it really fast. And it's using Swift. So it's like a native Mac app. It's very slick. I pushed it, I think, in January, December, but I didn't even make a good video for it or anything because I've been so busy with work. So I just made this to do some scans. I'm like, this thing is awesome though. It's really dynamic and pretty.
But it won't warn you about anything. It will just tell you what's on the network, right?
Yeah, this is just an inventory tool. Right, but easy inventory tools
look at that.
Are hard.
You're doing that little animation video just to promote the tool, right?
Little.
It's like your brand now. What's it called?
Little xenomorph guy.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, from Aliens. I've kind of.
I always thought about it as Venom.
Venom. Venom's also valid, right? Scary looking dude. I was trying to pick something that I could play with that was identifiable. This one's been pretty big though. This gets a lot of downloads, not a lot of stars. 158 is pretty good, I guess. But like that's been doing good. CyberDocs.
That is such a professional profile photo.
I know that's an AI one.
Suit and everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's got like wire in it. Yeah, this one was a big one. The CyberDoc thing. I made this because I was mad because I was building Docker containers, and if you use the regular Docker repo, it doesn't let you prune it easily. So every time you push a new image, it basically adds blobs to the blob list. So if you're doing iterative development with manual building, I looked and I'm doing a 400 megabyte image, and I've got 29 gigs of being consumed on the server from these images. And the only way to delete them is to reconfigure the container or drop the container or rebuild. It's a big headache, right?
Right. You have to manually drop the cached images.
Right. Yeah. So what I've done is I just wrote this little Docker container, which is its own Docker registry. And every time you push an image to it of the same version, it deletes the previous one. It's also got this red purge button that you can just go to in your browser and click purge. What an idea. And it works. And it's funny because this has had hundreds of downloads too. It's got 55 stars, but it's had hundreds of downloads. So I don't know if it's thousands, but hundreds.
I would totally download it because I've never used Docker until you told me to try Go. And then I built a few applications in Go and I was like, oh, it's really cool. Let me put it on the server. But a part of me really wanted to make like a fully automated deployment. So I explored Docker for a couple of days and that was just hell. Like a friend of mine many years ago put it this way. He's like, using Docker is like inviting 1,000 spiders to deal with a couple of flies. And that's what I found too, where it's just like the more you try to deal with it, the more it breaks, the more complicated it is. And even with Cursor, right, it creates this massive Docker file. So, anyways, partially because of this, I actually scraped the whole Docker idea and built my own deploy file, which is like 1,200 lines long. But with the deploy file, I can tell it exactly what I want to do, down to like, okay, when you deploy, make sure you back up the database, because it's also SQLite, right? Like,
Yeah.
back up the database, do all of this, pull in the new data, remove the backup, and like you can be super granular. And I wasn't committed to the way the Docker wants to do it. I just like, it just works, and like I can, so I can see why that, like, how that could be really popular, because it's such a simple idea, and yet like Docker doesn't have it built in. Just
Yeah, it's interesting. Docker can be a very challenging thing to use. This is the original one.
this is your claim to fame, right?
Yeah,
RF
this was my
Hunter.
big viral thing, or made it. It's big in the Chinese news. Made it on Hacker News. It's the RF Hunter. I've got 3 or 4 in a bin. I've got started building.
Do you
And
take them with you as you travel now?
yeah, I brought one in my bag, and I brought it with me around. And
So
it's.
how have you found stuff with RF Hunter where you're like,
I mean, I stay in mostly nice hotels and stuff, right? I don't even stay at Airbnbs anymore. So it's more of a neat thing to pull out and be like, all right, let's check the room for bugs, and people laugh, and then you actually have the you actually have the device. I
you know
like
what?
this ESP stuff. It's fun.
You should plant bugs.
Yeah,
And
just
then like
find it.
let's check the room for bugs, and you find this hidden camera, and everybody's just like, It'd be a party trick.
So this one you should think about for you. I love this one.
Mhm.
Probably. Did you ever see this one, the Cyberpam thing?
Yeah. I haven't used it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I love this thing. I use it in my lab, and I've got a bunch of friends that use it. And I was thinking about trying to sell it at some point, but I was going to always give it free to anyone who's not a company.
Corporation. Yeah.
Yeah, so it lets you basically just expose a site on the web, and then you can connect via Cloudflare Zero Trust or internal to any system, and then it records it. It creates a H.264 video file that you can review. So if you want to expose access to your systems to third parties or whatever, you can just tie it in. It creates the videos. You can play it, and it works. I put it out in December, and it's how I access my lab, how I do a bunch of stuff. And it's been one of my, I feel like it's the least valued tool that I've made.
So you mean you use it yourself to access your work stuff, so that there's always a log of what you did, so no one can actually say that you went and mess around with stuff you weren't supposed to?
So I use it for my internal lab here at the house, and I expose stuff. So sometimes I create a lot of things that aren't on the company network, say, because I'm doing something crazy in the lab. So I'll give them access to it through this, right? So I can give them a shared sort of account that they can use for stuff, and then I can review the footage of it, which is nice.
Yeah.
If something as funny is going on or whatever, and it's fast.
And for the listeners, this is just the kind of person you are. You have a small home lab that you can SSH into. It's like when you're on the go, right?
Yeah. So I've got a Kubernetes cluster. I've got it's Proxmox. Yeah, I can put that on screen. That might be interesting, right?
Yeah, you're like the 1% of 1% of developers, even though you're not even trying. Most people try really hard to be this technical, and you like just spun it out on the weekend. Felt like doing it.
Yeah, I'm pretty OCD.
Got angry.
Yeah, I get mad and I do stuff. So this is it's a relatively small cluster. It's got 2 nodes in it. And cluster information. So I'm using Ceph on it, which is nice. There we go. There's a summary detail. So I've got 2 of these AMD CPUs. They each have 128 gigs of RAM. I've got a 4-node Kubernetes cluster running RKE2, and I deploy most of my applications on that. I've got AI stats. So the AI stats website I put together like in November last year that just benchmarks, that gets like 1,000 plus hits a day, over 100,000 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, it's still growing, and I keep seeing new metrics show up in it. So I left it up. And
that was just, and that you essentially built that so you can collect stats for the stuff you were testing at work. Is that?
Well, it wasn't work. It was more I just wanted to. So I was having a really hard time figuring out GPU performance for AI.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a scientific exercise for a lot of people. What GPU do I want to buy for whatever I'm trying to do? And there's all these benchmark suites. They're super complicated, way too complicated, right? They're like, oh, under this floating point performance, this one's 12% better. It's like, guy, I just want to know if I can use this thing to run, Llama 3, right? Or whatever. And how does this compare against other GPUs? So that's why I put AI stats together. It's literally a prompt that goes against Llama 3.1, and then he gives you your tokens per second, and that gives you your stats. And, I'm using an older model because I haven't changed it. Because you know what? I don't care. I just want to know what the relative performance of the 4090 is to the 3090. Right? It's 10% faster on this. Great. And then you'll hear the people say, well, the newer models have a performance gain that you can't see. Guy, I don't care. I just want to know how it compares to this other thing, right? I want a frame of reference for how I measure stuff. And to me, that's why I built it. But it's funny because it gets so much traffic. Yeah, so do RKE2 cluster, tie it in, I run servers locally. And if ever I need to do something, I usually spin it up in Kubernetes and run it on one of these guys. And they run great. RKE2 is a really solid distro. I don't know if you're familiar, if you run any Kubernetes stuff. But
nope, I'm going to have to look it up afterwards.
Yeah, so you can set it up in 10 minutes. Like legit, it's not hard. And then when you do the RKE2, you can define your home network or your lab as a bunch of YAML files. So like I actually was on Micro K8s 2 months ago, and at work at VAST, we're doing some RKE2 stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to refresh my cluster using RKE2 because I might as well. We're going to be using this at work, or they are using it for a bunch of stuff. So I might as well use it too. So, I refreshed the cluster on that, and I was able to move everything I had using Cursor. I just took the existing YAML files and said, hey, I want to move these to this cluster. And I applied them, and they had all worked, right? With very little effort. So I've got like 20 or 30 applications I run. But yeah, and I've got a game server for the kids, a Pi-hole, and 20 or 30 things in Kubernetes. AI stats, though, is I don't really do anything to it. It's got the benchmarker, which is written in Go, and it keeps getting more and more performance. So look, like M1 Max. What's really interesting on these metrics, this is the M3 Ultra, right? This gets 67 tokens a second, which is really good. It's on par with like a 4070 or a 4080, depending on the machine, and it performs really well. But the top of the chart, this person's got this 4090 on the top of the chart right now. So it's really, so if you rerun the same test over and over again, you can sort of get your numbers up because of caching and stuff. And this guy, he ran this test hundreds of times
just to make sure that this card is at the top of the list.
Yes. This guy was dedicated. He spent like a whole day because I looked on the database back end. I'm like, this score is pretty high. And I looked, and there was like hundreds of records for runs. And I'm like, this guy wrote a script or something. It was just, he was really trying to get up there. So I mean, I'm leaving him. He earned it.
No, it'd be funny if you drop him, like just clear cache, drop him back, and be like, there was an issue with your test. Could you please rerun it again?
Yeah. I'll let him have his number, but
you know, like you're not even monetizing this website with 100,000 visits per month. Like people would be selling graphics cards at the top, and you kind of just like, you should. Make a deal with Nvidia or something, just or Apple, whoever's the highest bidder, just get them to sell their stuff at the top, or like a little Amazon link on the right, but probably all of the stuff is sold out, so you can't really.
Yeah. There's probably some way to monetize and do something. I was actually thinking about adding a browser-based benchmarker on this and doing some things with it. But I've been so busy with work. We've got a big initiative with Nvidia and a bunch of things going on that I just haven't. I haven't had a lot of time for side projects.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, you only showed me like 6 or 7 things that you haven't had time for.
Some stuff's harder than others, right? Like the cyber image thing, my little girls wanted it, right? So they're like, Daddy, can you make it easier for us to make images like this? So I had to find time for that, right? This is more of a me thing, so it's not as exciting. But like, this is cool with the M2 and the M4, giving you an idea on actual numbers, right?
Yeah. And again, like you said, it takes like 10 times longer to do it on Apple, but it's only 10 times longer. Like it's not terrible if you think about it, right? Like as models will get better and computers will get faster, this will kind of come closer together, hopefully. I mean, if you're Elon Musk, you're going to have the top of the line, and some like millions of them in Minnesota. But for everybody else, like you can get pretty decent performance on consumer hardware.
Yeah, so these M3 Ultras that were released, Ivan on X, he's been posting a bunch of benchmarks on it, and the M3 Ultra is really good. Like this, I mean, this 67 tokens a second on this model. I mean, look, you've got 3090s that are posting that, and this whole benchmark board, it's got huge variation because you got different CPUs, you got people running games at the same time, you've got all kinds of stuff going on here. But like M3 Max getting 48 tokens, M3 Ultra 67 tokens. I'm a 3, pretty much anything better than 20 tokens is faster than you can read, right? So it writes pretty quick. So, you could probably get away with 10 tokens a second.
It's really interesting. Look, M1 Max with 32 gigs is almost as close as M3 Max with 48 gigs. So,
right?
And actually, I upgraded my laptop. Let me see what I have right now. A few months ago, I'm now on M4 Pro with 48 gigs. But I think I used your website when I was making my selection, and I realized that you could go for M3 Ultra or even M4. Performance wasn't like, unless I was running AI stuff on my laptop all day long, for the extra $2,000 that it costed, the performance was not that much better. But for a while, I probably spent a few weeks debating if I really needed a new laptop because it was kind of expensive still. And then I realized I compared the M3 Pro with the M1 Max or something that I had from a few years ago. And I was like, wait, for essentially like $50 a month, so whatever you do when you put on an Apple Card, right? I could literally double of everything from a few years ago. And I was just like, once I realized that, I was like, okay, no brainer, add to cart. Because if you need the 10% incremental performance, then you have to get really complicated. But just to double your performance from a few years ago, just get whatever is medium top of the line.
Yeah. It's so benchmarking and finding the best value. The Apple stuff's really come a long way. I just bought a new MacBook Air. I actually got it Thursday and I got it set up, and I'm super excited about the portability of it. I bought 2 for my little girls, and the little 13-inch with the M4 with 16 gigs of RAM, and they're playing all these games on them, and like they run great. And I've got the M3 16 Max next to me here, and it is it's so big, right? Like it's huge. This thing is like it's
a brick.
Well, I traveled to Israel recently, to Tel Aviv for work, and like I have a work laptop, right? And then I have my personal one. And the M3 Max 16, it's too expensive too to travel internationally with, because if it gets stolen, I was thinking about that, right? Like it's like a $4,000, $5,000 laptop. Do I really want to bring that to wherever I'm going and risk losing it? It's my personal thing. Not really. What would I rather lose? I'd rather lose $1,000 MacBook Air, right?
Right. So and they're less likely to steal it too if they know the prices for these things.
Yeah. So like I bought the Air. It looks for travel and general portability and usability. It works great. I think Apple got really smart by increasing the memory on those new machines. Cost wise, they're really good value, I think, for children and for adults.
Yeah. I mean, we have Mac Air, like the Airs, probably from last fall, plus iPads for each child. And I try not to get them to, I don't know. We have this love-hate relationship with technology and children because like I don't want them to be on their tech all day long.
Yep.
Because no matter what I try to put in front of them, they always default to like, let's go watch some junk on YouTube.
Yep.
And short of completely killing YouTube in the house, it's really hard to compete against junk videos. But at the same time, I do want them to do all the technology because like other kids aren't going to do it. So like the more you do it, the more successful you're going to be, whether it is at like hacking your homework or like doing something more productive, still value.
So do you run an open web UI for your kids?
No, I've looked into it. No, but I've just done like ChatGPTs for them mostly and, some Grok and that kind of stuff.
So I've got an open web UI for my kids that is really good.
You mean like literally the open web UI, like the Git repository, right? That has the same name.
Yeah. So it's got agents in it. Here, I'll put it. So I think you should see this because I think this is really cool. Let's see. Screen. Okay. So I've set this up. So my kids use this. I have my youngest daughter who's 9. She does thousands of usages a week. Like insane. So I was using ChatGPT to drive some of these, and it became a problem. So I moved to local models. So like example, you create these agents, and then when you add your kids, you then expose the agents to them. So like if you look, this is Larry the llama. My youngest one really likes him. It's using the Cerebus model, which is Cerebus. They have a free API key. And it's a 70B, and this is his system prompt. He's Larry. He's a guardian and helper for children. Larry is fluffy, friendly, personality traits, protective, patient, kind, inquisitive, playful. He has a safety focus on educational support, emotional intelligence, and encouragement. Content guidelines. He cannot talk about anything that's inappropriate for kids, right? Violence, whatever. He's very, whatever. So he's my AI agent. She talks to him.
And right? The guideline was written by you with specific purpose. Okay.
Yeah, of protecting the children, right? So like, I got this Misty. She's actually a ChatGPT powered one. Or no, she's running Pixtral Large. That's what she's running now. And she's a virtual companion. They wanted a girlfriend, appropriate for 8 to 12, protect the kids, content avoidance, graphic violence, explicit content. She prioritizes safety. So it's similar prompt to Larry, right? Each of the AIs they interact with is heavily influenced to be a good person for them. Oh, Jemmy. So one of them wanted to learn Japanese. So we created a Japanese language teaching assistant. So
do any of these have access to internet, like browsing?
Yes.
And is there a built-in browser in this? So can you monitor, or can the agent monitor what's been consumed?
So basically in Open Web UI, you can create a log of what all the users are doing. So every transaction they do is logged into a SQLite database.
Mm.
So I can look at what they're talking to and what they've done. And my wife and I have reviewed some of the content of them. And some of them were exploring boundaries. And then Larry was telling them no. And, it's interesting. Some of the stuff they come up with. But that's one of the reasons why we went to these models. Is I had regular AI usage for them, and I saw things in the logs that I didn't necessarily want to see an 8-year-old interacting with. So I said, okay, I'm going to adjust this. So we created these little agents, and it's a way for me to test models too, right? So I've got this one guy here, Lex. Lex is my boy. This system prompt here, I actually use it in the GPT for OpenAI, but so he's using the Gemini 2.5 base model right now. He is my boy. So Lex responses are devoid of emotional inflection and delivered in a matter-of-fact manner. He returns commands that can be run in the terminal, followed by a concise explanation. He never is personal. He's never friendly. Lex does not engage in dialogue beyond answering the question. And he only gives me one-liners. So instead of giving you like a long explanation, he'll give me a one-liner I can paste in the terminal. This is my boy, though. I love Lex.
That's awesome. He's like your default work Slack responder, right?
Yes, yeah. And I'm a huge fan of Lex. So I've got some prompts that I use on a general day-to-day. But Open Web UI, right? If we go in here and I've got hundreds of models, but like if I interact with Lex and I say, I need to see open ports on a Mac for TCP. And I send a response, watch it'll break as I'm doing it live.
But it already knows that you're looking for a specific command on a Mac, and that's that one-liner. Yeah, that's perfect.
Right? I just click a copy.
Yeah. No, this is actually great because, like OpenAI and Grok change models. I noticed Grok, for example, got more verbose lately.
Yeah, it just keeps going. It's like, shut up. Like some people think that's valuable.
Right. But for me, it's like, I just want the answer because I don't need the 6-page explanation for what this one line means. I actually don't care what this one line means. I just need the line. Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. You should open source your, maybe just have a repo of Matthew's bots so we can just copy
prompt
it. But I guess
bots.
we can just also write. Write our own prompts. Is there a prompt library out there for the bots?
So there's a bunch of prompt libraries that are crap. So I ended up writing my own and just throwing them in a file with Markdown. And I use them as a reference. But I generated, I think, most of them, the base with Grok, and then I modify them, right? So I'm generating prompts with AI and modifying them with AI. And then I changed some of it too. Like I set the mission, right? And I say, rework this prompt to meet this mission. And then I'll iterate on it 2 or 3 times. Like if for Misty or like Gemma, a Japanese teacher and that type of stuff. But I am a huge fan of these sort of things. And this Open Web UI, I've got local models on here that run on the local compute. And then I've got external models that Like I've got Google, Mistral, Grok, Anthropic. I've got
Yeah,
all this stuff in here.
evolve that. Are you sharing this through Mac Mini on the local network, or you just install it for your kids on their laptops separate?
No, this is a local network thing. So this is actually running in my RKE2 cluster. So like you saw, there's a message down there saying there's an update. So what I'm going to do is after this call, I'm going to SSH over, or actually I'm not even going to SSH. I'm going to run K9S-A, which is you want to see me update it? It might be
Yes.
cool. All right, here.
As long as, can you share it? Is there anything there that we might not want to share?
I think so. Here, let's put it on screen. Let's say share screen, I have a button, a window, okay? Open system settings. Come on, are you for real? I've already done that, okay? Entire screen, Chrome tab. I don't think I can, you know what hold on. I have an idea. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna open CyberPam. Here, we'll just use CyberPam. And then I
And
can
this is the future of this AI first development, where you just build tools for yourself that solve your problems instead of looking for somebody else to solve them for you. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So here we just go to CyberPam, and then we'll go to one of my systems here. We'll go to Leviathan. It's going to launch. So this is web abstracted to SSH.
You're only sharing one tab, though, so you have to like throw it into that same tab.
Yeah. So that's why you can see the tab, right? The green stuff.
I can only see the CyberPam, but not whatever.
Yeah. Well, no. Oh, okay. Hold on. Share this tab instead.
There you go.
All right. So I clicked it. Thank you. So I'm going to run K9S-A, and that's going to launch K9S, and then I'm going to look for Open Web, and there it is. And then I'm going to press Control D to delete the current pod. Click back on it, Control D. Hello? All right, Control D. All right, delete pod. So when I delete the pod, the policy is going to pull a new copy of the pod. So it's going to update it. The data volume is currently mounted via Ceph with a RBD device to the Proxmox host. So the data is persistent. Mm-hmm. So now the container's dropping, it's terminating and killing the container. It's going to pull the latest copy, and it's going to be on the latest release in like however long it takes to download the container. The container, I think, is 1.6 gigs, and we have 5 gigabit internet here. Mm-hmm. So it should take 6 seconds.
Now you're just bragging. 5 gigabit internet. It's like our whole town is getting 5 gigabit internet.
Yeah, so this will be up in a second. It'll be updated. But this is how I manage my RKE2 cluster. I just use K9S, and I go in and drop the pods. And you can use kubectl too if you like want to, rough it. But this is super lazy. I love K9S. I don't know who makes this, or I don't know if they call it K9s. I'm very literal. I read stuff.
K9s like the dogs?
Yeah. Well, the joke is Kubernetes K8s is like the full Kubernetes cluster, and K3s is a small. So they call this K9.
Just to up them one. Yeah.
I guess. So this is taking a while. Come on, 50 seconds? This is too long.
You're going to have to fix this after the call.
I know, right? Like she should be up pretty quick. Now I could have a problem too, right? Like, so if I press L on this, we can look at the logs. It should do an update and come back up.
But while we're waiting, I got to ask though, like, this is really cool. You've built it all for yourself, for your family, running local network. How come you're not trying to monetize any of this? Like build Mac apps or websites, charge $29.99 per month? Because so much from what you showed me could be extracted just like one app at a time, and then you have 20 money-making apps. But you were very kind of like on point about, hey, I just want to give this stuff away for free to people who are not companies, right? Like that's totally fine. That's open source. Use it.
Yeah. So like the CyberPam thing, to me, it's secure remote access for people and businesses. And I think that there's a couple people in the segment that are like that. There's CyberArk, there's BombGuard. So I was in the security space, right? I still have a CISSP. They charge millions of dollars for this type of stuff. It's super expensive. It's hard to use, and it's convoluted. I wanted a simple solution that can keep your data safe and be useful to people. And I don't like seeing people get hacked. I don't like seeing hospitals lose patient data because, there's 3 or 4 vendors that charge an arm and a leg for that. So now we got the latest Open Web UI, and looks like it's got some voice features, copy formatted response mode. That's cool. Some brag template thing. I don't know. All right, let's go. So there you go. So,
but you know what I mean? I wonder like where the altruism comes from, because on one hand you have the job where you're getting paid to play with all this stuff, and on the other hand you could technically turn your lifestyle into a job, be an indie hacker where all of this is paid for by others, but somehow you're choosing to give it all away for free, which is really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not smart from a financial perspective. I enjoy the technology and I like working with people. To me, my personal like motivation is generally to try to do better for people and myself. Ultimately, I want to be able to provide for my family and I want to do that, but I don't want to provide at the expense of others that way. I don't know. I've got some matrix stuff. I know there's a lot of opportunity to do, SaaS apps and things. I make quite a bit of money in my professional life and I do well. So I don't need that much more. So I'm trying to contribute more on the other side of it, right? Now, if my cyberpam thing blows up and it's got millions of business users, I'll probably charge $50 a month for it. If I hit that critical point or something, right? I don't think I'm ever going to I don't ever want to reach a stage where I'm abusing people or customers or things, which I think is a natural state for businesses. They reach a certain state and then some of them get really bad, right? It depends on your business model, I suppose. Broadcom recently with the virtualization stuff, that was a really breaking point in the industry where licensing became so expensive. Such an extraordinary change in costing. I looked at that too. I never want to be like that.
Right, so the business wants to milk as much as they can for as long as they can. And as long as you have enough, you're actually giving it. That's awesome. Thank you for the tour of all the tools. Like, I love this. I want people to watch this and be like, hey, I can do this too, right? It's not this complicated. I can just get math
Yes.
models and just run them on my computer, do all these things from my family, and kind of get inspired that all of this is possible. And well, maybe they'll reach out to you and hire you for all the cool stuff, right? Because it's like, it's possible. It's also really complicated. So a lot of folks out there are not going to want to deal with the complicated, but I think it's very educational, like what is actually possible and how easy it is on grand scheme of things to enable yourself to do this.